Good afternoon and welcome to Meet the Candidates. Today we're interviewing the Union President candidates for this SUSU election. And today I'm joined by all of the Union President candidates. Why don't we start by introducing everyone? So I'll start with Rishi Noan.
So, hi, I'm Rishi. Fantastic to be here and to be with all the other candidates. It's really exciting with this election coming up. I've got a background in SUSU and representation. I've spent a lot of time as a halls officer and now a student trustee, and I'm hoping to lead the union with lots of exciting policies.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Harry. Hello, is that working? There we go. Hi, my name's Harry. I'm a fourth year, currently completing my Masters in History. I've been on the Student Senate for 2 years now, and I've been enjoying that, so that's why I want to carry on, and that's why I'm running for Union President.
Hello, my name is Benedict Madden. I'm running for President. I'm in my third year at the moment. I'm also doing history, and I'm very happy to be here with the other candidates to talk about my campaign.
Oh, fantastic.
Hello, this is working, yeah. Hi, I'm Oliver. I'm running to be your union president. I'm a third-year biology student from over in the US. Just want to say a big thank you to Surge TV for putting this on, and it's great to see all the other candidates.
Oh, thank you.
Really excited for this campaign. It's been super fun so far. Just really looking forward to the rest of it.
Oh, well, fantastic. Thank you. I guess we'll start with one of our questions that we're asking everyone. Why did you apply to run to be union president? We'll start with Oliver.
So I've kind of applied to run for union president because over the past few years I've had different kind of roles that have really wide reach throughout SUSU. So just this year I've been the president of the School of Biological Sciences. Then I've also been a president of a small sports club for the past year and a half, running at Spikeball. And so I've kind of seen multiple different issues across the entirety of the union, so from the sports side, from the education side, and just in general other issues that I'm sure everyone else has noticed, especially this year with the whole exams situation and how the university just completely ignored our 95% vote, which was just ridiculous. So I've kind of decided to run because that kind of spurred me forward, along with the experience I've had in different roles, to just go for union president.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I saw the one of the posters that was up about how you could apply to run for one of the sabbatical roles, and I was very bored, and I thought that it looked interesting, so that is why I applied.
That's fantastic.
So I hadn't actually thought about applying until I got an email from the representation team who said some people had put me forward and thought I'd be good. I wondered who those people were. I still don't know who those people are. I don't think I'll ever will, but I really enjoyed my time. I have enjoyed my time on the Union Senate, seeing what sabbatical officers actually do, and actually seeing what they've done over the past 2 years, what they haven't been able to do. So that's why I've decided to run this time.
Oh, well, fantastic.
So I think a lot of my university life has been going with the flow. And I think when I first started at university and went for Hall's president, that was as a result of a push from some of my friends, and they thought it would be a good thing to see me doing. I've since just been encouraged, and I think I've seen that I am actually able to make a lot of change. And I think in the role of president, that's something I could really grab with both hands. And similarly, it's a bit of a mix of Harry and Oliver. I had a wide range of experience as an academic rep, in halls, as a trustee, working with Senate, and just getting involved in student politics. And I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't have seen myself where I am today, but I think my enthusiasm and passion for SUSU has brought me to where I am.
Fantastic, and it shows, by the way. You can definitely feel, I can feel the enthusiasm here on stage. And to be fair, I can feel that from everyone, but just when you said it, I just thought of it. Now, I have another question from our big selection of questions I was going to ask. What is something that SUSU does that you particularly like at the minute? And what is one thing that you'd like to see changed or altered in some way? I think I'll pass this over. If I pass this to Harry first, because you have some experience on the University Senate.
Sure. So I'm happy with the way SUSU's currently represented, how the Senate works. I think an area where we could do better is obviously trying to get people to put themselves forward for roles. I know there's been problems with people being put forward for course reps, so there's some courses that aren't represented, so that's an issue I'd like to look at.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. I mean, this year especially, we've seen, in years past, we've seen some roles like education and democracy actually have no one apply for them. And this year we had, I believe, 10 or 11 people applying for that one role. So already we're seeing sort of a trend of more people wanting to get involved in issues that they feel directly impact or affect them. And how do you see yourself sort of adding to that and making that change even bigger?
So I think a lot of that probably had to do with the pandemic, and people felt they didn't have a voice, so they wanted to put themselves forward to have that role. And I think I would be in a position to help promote, you know, the general roles available, and, you know, kind of help people have the confidence to put themselves forward. And especially one of my points, and one of the points I keep referring to, is SUSU needs to communicate more. So I think if they communicate more, then people will know those roles are available and be able to go for them.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I'm going to pass you over to, if we pass you over to Rishi.
So I think, sorry, what was the question again?
That's a good question. So broadly, what is something that SUSU currently does that you sort of like, or something you'd like to change?
So I think one of the things at the moment is some of the core events. So that's things like karaoke and quiz and curry. And I mean, you'll see me there. It's a staple of my week. But I think it's the fact that actually you meet so many different people, and those connections that you make through your clubs and societies, they just are sustained by that. And that then is why one of my policies is having a Wednesday night focused around our clubs and societies. One thing I think we could do better is the material support provided to our groups. I mean, it's something we should be so proud of. We've got 300 plus clubs and societies. I give some tours sometimes to prospectives, and I think it's something that really wows them, the variety that we have, and it's something we should be proud of. So I think in terms of having more minibuses available, a bigger variety, things that we can hire, and more spaces that we can use across the university, so working with the university and SUSU to get more availability. That's something that really matters, because that's something where the clubs and societies can harness what we have on offer and just have more sessions, more opportunities that people can get involved with.
No, that would be fantastic. And I remember when I started at university, and you just remember that sort of first bun fight, or sort of intro to all the different societies that we have on offer, and there's just so many, and you just sort of get overwhelmed, and there's so much to choose from, which is fantastic, but it's like you can sometimes never really know where to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that's something you'd like to see, sort of like to improve, or something?
I think in recent years we've had lots of changes in the way bun fight works.
Yes.
And the fact that actually it's now segmented, and you can sort of work out exactly what you want to try, and what type of sport or what type of society, so whether it's an education or a faith one, I think that helps where they're grouped. You've got lots of different taster opportunities. I think refreshers is something that could have a real push, though, because that's an opportunity where you can get so many new members.
Oh, definitely.
And you've worked out where your timetable is, sort of how things fit in, and I think that's really important to grab as an opportunity for our committees.
Yeah. No, that would be fantastic. And we're seeing a lot, actually, in quite a few of the different sort of campaigns, so especially VP activities. There's a lot of discussion of how sort of the uni, but especially the SABs, can support different societies, not just ones that are sort of integral to the uni, like, say, student media, like us, but like, you know, things that are sort of independent, like other societies that don't receive direct funding from the uni, let's say. And being able to offer more sort of facilities, and if we can offer more minibuses and stuff like that, would be fantastic. So that is a really optimistic policy. It'd be fantastic if that happens. I'm going to pass you over to Oliver. So I realise I have I've asked the people closest to me.
It's okay.
No.
So I'd say definitely one of my favorite things that the union does is, as Rishi has kind of already alluded to, with so many different clubs and societies, over 300, from canoe polo. It's just absolutely awesome. If you just go to the gym and you look past and just see it, it's great to see. But from swimming, my own club, Round Net Spikeball, there's so many different unique things out there that I feel really caters to everyone. And it's not like really like the union has provided this, they've facilitated it, but it's been done by our students,
Yes.
which I think is one of the most important things out there. So I'm really happy with that. But I think one thing I'd say that could definitely be improved, and as we've seen this year with the exam, is kind of the communication between the union and the university.
Yes.
And it kind of feels like we've been a bit treaded on, almost a bit disrespected almost by the university, which it shouldn't have happened. So I think kind of improving the ties and, you know, making it so we can actually voice our opinions and have it respected would definitely be something I'd like to see improved.
Oh, definitely. I can definitely see why you would say that, because, of course, the all-student vote that happened in January, I can't remember the exact details, but I know it was over 90% of people responded and said that they didn't want in-person exams to go ahead. Now, obviously, an issue like in-person exams would have been decided months in advance and, you know, would have had rounds of consultation. But the thing is as students, we didn't really know about that. And unless you're attending university senate meetings for fun, like, you wouldn't know about it. And the minutes are, correct me if I'm wrong, the minutes are sealed for quite a while until after the meeting is happens. So a lot of students just won't know about what's the decisions being made that ultimately have a massive impact on them. So this is something I'm seeing a lot in your campaign, Oliver, but also in Harry's, is this sort of trying to open a dialogue between not just SUSU and students, but also the university and students as well. So yeah, no, fascinating. I'm going to move us over to Benedict. Now, I have a slightly different question for you, because in your manifesto, there's a lot of details on how you want to make the place, and correct me if I'm wrong, a happier and fairer university?
That is correct.
Happier and fairer. There's not a lot of stuff on... There's not a lot of concrete details. And if you did get elected, would there be something, say, at SUSU or the university that you'd like to see changed or added to in some way, or something you like at the minute?
I would like to see the last letter dropped so that the name could be an homage to the hit game Among Us.
I see. So it can be the SUS Students' Union.
That is correct.
I see. I feel like some people would appreciate that. You know, it's quite funny with the new mural that they've got on the stairs now. From certain angles, it does just look like it has that. So we're half of the way there, is what I'm trying to say to you. So that'd be fantastic.
One point I would like to raise is that I'm in firm agreement with what some of the other candidates have been saying about the examinations. I would like to know who is the sus imposter who is responsible for disrespecting the decision of 95% of students.
I think we all do. I mean, that's the thing, is with very rarely can you say 90% of people agree on anything, right? And I know it's not every single student replied to it, but enough did. And 90% that's the sort of numbers you just don't, it just doesn't feel real, does it? And you'd think that might be acknowledged in some way, and in my opinion, as a student, I didn't really feel like it was. There's a lot of mitigating factors for that, and obviously these decisions are made, you know, months in advance, but something would have been better. There wasn't even really much of a public response outside of SUSU. So seeing that addressed, and I think this is where the role of the union president can be so important, is just having someone that can sort of be the voice for students in that sense. And I guess that brings me on to my sort of next question. How will you ensure that students feel like their voices are valued? And Benedict, you are grinning at me. I'm sure, have you got an answer for this?
I haven't really thought about that one. I would probably. This is incredibly difficult. This is incredibly difficult, and
it is a difficult question.
This is one. This is probably one for the other candidates really to answer. I'm going to hand this over to.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Whoever.
Flip a coin. Fantastic.
I mean, going on what we've just discussed, I think, you know, to make people feel valued, they have to understand what's going on around them. And the whole thing about, you know, the university senate, executive board, council meetings, you can either access the minute meetings, or they're over a year old, or you can't access them at all. So if you don't understand the reasons for decisions, then you can't rationale it, you can't fathom the logic behind it. And then, you know, as Oliver said, you know, students feel betrayed, they don't understand, and as a result, you know, we don't feel valued. So trying to put across the university so they understand that, you know, SUSU, the union president, want to, on behalf of the students, make sure that they, you know, are being valued to the extent that they are trusted and, you know, trusted with the information. I think that would go a long way to rectifying that.
Oh, I think it would, because, well, to let you in on sort of some insider knowledge, if you will. So I also write for Wessex Scene, which is the University of Southampton's student newspaper. And we wanted to see what happened in the University Senate meeting where in-person exams were sort of decided on. That's still sealed now. We've had to file a Freedom of Information request, which will probably get denied because it may not even fall within the remit of Freedom of Information. And this is a massive decision that impacted every student currently, well, obviously on this stage, but everyone in this room. And the fact that we had to go to those lengths to find out exactly why something like in-person exams was, how it was decided on, what objections people might have brought up, you know, the best we can rely on otherwise is sort of hearsay from people who might have been there. And in all honesty, there are a lot of people who are sort of, who won't talk to us in that way. And that's unfortunate. And I think that sort of goes a long way. If we can, in some way, improve the sort of situation with Senate meeting minutes or sort of opening that dialogue, I think that would go such a long way to restoring that sort of trust between students and the university.
I think what I would say is, I know obviously the university has their own commercial secrets they don't want to keep public and things like that. And I know Ben Dolbear is currently going through the process of maybe trying to put on an additional student representative to himself on these bodies to try and even the playing field a little bit, so at least the student voice is at least, you know, a small minority but one that is heard. And obviously Ben's done a great job trying to lobby, but you know, when it's just him versus the university, he's got an uphill battle. Yeah, no, it does also strike me when you see the minutes just how few students are at these things. Like, as a, you know, university senators and the union president, but is limited, and there's so much we could be doing there. I think there's so much potential for, you know, just trying new things and seeing what works. I'm going to pass you over to Oliver. So going back to the question, just to recap, so how will you ensure that students feel like their voices are heard and valued?
Yeah, so as Harry was kind of talking about with the Union Senate and with meetings kind of being sealed, well, I do think this is important. I think there should be some sort of process to let students kind of know what we've been talking about in this meeting, you know. Yeah. I think that would have been incredibly important, especially with this really, you know, with the exam situation. If we had known kind of what the Union Senate was talking about a little bit as well, I think that would have been beneficial. But in addition to that, kind of making sure students know that their voice is being listened to and everything. I know at the moment, of course, things are a bit difficult with COVID, but as things start easing up, you know, transitioning the Union Senate to being in person, I think that'd be really useful to increasing the numbers and, you know, actually making this Union Senate almost into like an event where students can attend and like hear, you know, this is what's being talked about. We know that our voices are being heard, and if we don't hear what we like, you know, we can voice it at this Union Senate, you know, have like questions at the end or something like that. And kind of going back to what you mentioned with you not being able to access the information about the decisions the university made. In addition to that, some things that you can't access, you can access the risk assessments that they put forth, that they, you know, they praised and said, oh, we've done the risk assessments, it's completely fine, don't worry about it. But you can't find these risk assessments anywhere. No, you can't. And I've tried to, you know, get in contact with them and ask about them, and I just got blanked, which is completely ridiculous. So I think if we kind of empower students through the Union Senate, you know, make sure they hear what they want to hear, they're getting their voices heard. I think that'd be really important. But also, like I was talking about, you know, increasing the ties with the university. I think that'd be really important to make sure that students actually hear that change is being made. And I think Ben does a really good job, especially, you know, this year. He does weekly updates, which I think I read them all the time. They're excellent. Even if he tries his best, he submits them so late because he's up late working on them, which I really appreciate his hard work. But I think, you know, continuing to do that and then making it more of a public way to view this. I feel like the you know, magnetic board that's up in the SUSU foyer is kind of underused a little bit. So kind of using that as a way to, you know, post, oh, this is what I've been doing, here you can show it, and then really advertising that on social media so students know that their voice is being heard.
Now, that all sounds fantastic, and especially hearing about the magnetic board at the front. I mean, that's the thing, is there's so much potential just around us to keep people informed of what's going on. And you know, obviously in student media, we try and do our bit, but it's limited because of, you know, we don't have, you know, all day to do it. And there's so much opportunity, and it seems like there's quite a wide range of what people want to do to ensure that people's voices are heard on campus. I'm going to pass this over back to Rishi.
Cheers.
So, what are your thoughts?
So I think to start with, the fact that we had such a strong mandate between, and that was a shared thought between the student body, it was quite nice to see us united in that.
It was.
And that is something that's quite rare, and I myself and SUSU and many others, we've tried really hard to get student engagement, and that's things like running for roles as halls presidents, running for roles as academic reps, and I think we've all got a passion in terms of making sure that students run for these roles to ensure representation. We had representation there, and unfortunately the university chose to have that reputational damage, and it was a real shame. It was quite saddening, and I think a lot of people were infuriated by it. I, for one, have a part-time job in A&E. I've seen the impact, and I'm sure many other people have, throughout COVID, where people can't go and see dying relatives. There are real issues at this core where actually it was a public health scandal, quite frankly, and the images were there, students were sharing them, and actually they were engaging in politics, which I think was quite good to see. Unfortunately, we are right in that there was a lack of communication. I think I will just distinguish that Union Senate is where the sabbatical officers are held to account by some of our own students. University Senate is where the University Executive Board is held to account. Now, I'm fortunate enough to actually be a student representative on there, but we are right in that there's very limited information that comes out from it. Some of it does have to be restricted.
Of course.
But I think we could do a lot more, and Harry, I completely agree that in terms of communicating why these decisions were made, that's something that could be done. There's no reason why not. I think in the future, things like you said we did, the magnetic wall, this is a very good point. I think we've got a lot of feedback mechanisms, but it's making something that's quite simple for students. Something where students are able to see, and we may not always want to be involved in student politics or things like that, but sometimes the big decisions need to be filtered down. And so that could be through student comms, it could be through these other channels that the university has, and there's so much social media reach. And I think with Ben's updates at the moment, he's been working really hard on this issue, so have all the SABs. And they have been giving us a lot of updates on what's been going on. But also, things have been really slow. Now, I don't think the university needed to have been slow because they were quick enough to react when COVID first came around. So those sorts of adaptations and flexibility, that should be at the forefront of what we do. It is quite an operational thing that, and in terms of strategy, in terms of making sure this is a safe place, it should be number one. And I think that's something where it was nice to see students having that common voice, and hopefully that will be something where if we continue pushing with that voice and showing that we have that mandate and we have certain things that we all agree on, we can really push things forward and make some meaningful change.
No, and I can see it. I think one thing that really sets out the sort of the all students vote and the in-person exam sort of, I guess we could say scandal or crisis or whatever saucy word we want to use, it affected everyone, but it engaged people that weren't in the sort of usual student politics bubble, I think. You know, obviously spending a lot of time in the SUSU building, you do tend to, you get more involved in every issue, I think. But it was quite telling to me that, you know, I have friends on my course who have no real, you know, desire to really do anything with SUSU, let alone student politics, being up in arms about the in-person exam thing, and, you know, seeing Ben on BBC News made a massive sort of, you know, it was a big deal. And I think the thing is this won't be forgotten. I think there is going to be a long-term impact from the decisions made around the in-person exam sort of debacle. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for, I'm sorry to sound sort of vaguely nihilistic, but the next PR crisis in that way. And it'd be interesting to see. And I think between the four of you, I think you all have a way of dealing with that. And I feel like you would have a way of being able to make sure that voices are heard in that sense. Whether it's from, say, sort of opening up the union senates to Among Us. You know, there's always sort of there's a range of things, and it's good to hear. I just have... how are we doing for time? Where is... One more question. Okay, fantastic. And do we have any from the... I take it not. No. Okay, cool. Well, I will ask my last question. And it's a nice one. And it's actually one that a candidate suggested before, which is terrible. What is your favourite colour?
Shall I go just because I've got
Yeah,
the
go
mic?
for it.
It's a royal blue.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
choice. That's a good choice.
I'd have to say a nice sort of dark red, like crimson almost.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that's my choice.
Like the sort of blue that I'm wearing on my shirt, like the sort of light blue,
Sort
a
of
bit
baby blue.
turquoisey,
Yeah.
sort of, that one.
Well, that's quite good.
Probably have to go with SUSU burgundy. With a bit
course.
of yellow and gold in there, yeah?
Oh, that's a good answer. I mean, to be fair, dark red, dark blue, light blue, I mean, those are all fantastic answers. At least you didn't choose something like beige. So, we've got one more. Oh, one more question. Wow. Oh, okay. A bonus question. Wow. You guys really are lucky. Okay. I get the feeling behind the scenes they're expecting a bit more of a, an actual question. Okay, right. I'll ask just one more thing, and it can be as vague as you guys want. It is an open-ended question. If you're elected, let's say, what is the first policy you want to just get sorted immediately? Like, what's the first thing you want to do in that sort of first, 100 days, let's say? So, Oliver, you've got the mic. You can start.
So this would definitely just be my very first manifesto point, which is bringing back the U1N. I've had so many students reach out to me and say, I haven't realized how important this was to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible the feedback I've gotten from students. And students having to walk home, especially, with all the spiking that's been going on. Although it has decreased a little bit, I still hear about people getting spiked nearly every other weekend. So I think having the U1N back as soon as possible is absolutely the highest priority for me to ensure that our students are actually, they can go out, they can have fun, they can get off late from work, and they've got a safe way for themselves to get home without having to walk miles, sober or intoxicated. It's just not fair on the students.
No, it's not. I mean, I guess my two sort of potential questions are, first of all, obviously we have the safety bus here at SUSU, which is operational all night and all day. Well, not all day, but all night, 7 days a week now. My only concern is, obviously, the U1N is run by Unilink, which is a private company. I don't expect you to have a full-blown answer to this, but do you acknowledge at least that it might be a challenge to try and convince Unilink to bring it back as a private company?
Yes, so completely acknowledge it'll be a challenge, but I think the union can definitely push for it because it's something very important. And going on to the safety bus, I mean, the safety bus, it's got its limits. I mean, it's operating out of Stags. I'm not exactly sure on the seats on there, but it's not able to, drive all the way down to the clubs in city centre and bring everyone back.
True.
Which is where the majority of people are going. Most people, they'll go to Stags, and then, it closes a bit early, so they'll go down to city centre, and then, they're going to have to get back by themselves. But yeah, I acknowledge that it's going to be a challenge, but I like a challenge. I think it's worth it. It's worth it for the students.
I like the sound of that. I like the confidence in that, because it's a big ask, and it's going to be a tough thing if you get elected and you're up to doing it. But I just like the fact you acknowledge that and you're just going for it. I'm going to go to Rishi next, if that's all right. So, first 100 days. What's your first policy?
The first one's going to actually be student engagement groups, student focus groups, because I think some of our events start really early.
Yes.
And I'd want to have that student voice in terms of what we do, especially in terms of reforming Vibe. I think it's not been the success it could have been.
No.
It's had good intentions, but I think being on campus is a really safe place, and I think that's something we can acknowledge. And going back to the safety bus, the fact we've got that here, we've got our security 24/7 around the campus. We've got student well-being and their team around. I think the union itself this year has made some massive strides in terms of safe drinking, creating a safe space, and so having events on campus during freshers and having that student feedback in terms of what we want, what new things we want to bring. That's something I'm really looking forward to engaging with, and just meeting people and listening to what change people want to make, what they feel they've not been heard about, where they think they've just slipped through the cracks.
Well, fantastic. I mean, one thing you raised there is a sort of, you mentioned Vibe not really sort of panning out as everyone had hoped. And I think that's unfortunately been a running theme this year with, say, Below Deck or, you know, the Vibe Club Night. It's like, there are lots and lots of big ideas, but unfortunately there's not always the turnout that we want. And I guess this is something, being elected, this is something you, so like student engagement could really turn around. And, you know, given how important sort of the pubs and bars and, you know, everything, sort of food and drink are to the union, and how much, not only do they make up, say, you know, an important part of the budget, let's not beat around the bush, but also how important they are just for student life. That all sounds fantastic if it can be done.
Yeah, and I think there are some really good things that have come about this year, and it's knowing what's worked and what's not. So, you know, the SUSU meal deal, the cooked breakfast in the bridge, these are some really great things that have actually come back this year. But
and it's been good to see them come back, I must say.
Very tasty.
They are. Right, Harry, first 100 days.
I think trying to sort out the mandatory consent training again, because I know there are a lot of issues this year with it being rolled out, people being able to access it, and we don't actually know how many people completed it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So, you know, that's knowledge that I'd like to be able to get a hold of and, you know, use that to make sure it's reintroduced properly next year. And I think actually alongside a conversation I had with Wessex Scene when I did my interview the other day was, you know, how people conduct themselves in public, and maybe adding a section on that, on how people should be talking to other people, calling out derogatory language, victim blaming, that kind of thing. You know, just making sure that's all ready for the first years when they're starting next year, so it's all set up and ready in the summer. I think that's really important.
That is important, and it's so good to hear that being acknowledged as well. It's such a big issue, I think, on campus, and I think having that sort of mandatory sort of training could, well, literally could change lives. So it would be fantastic. And now I'll pass you over to Benedict.
I will restore the reign of the cat. We will have the cat back, representing the Students' Union. It is a tragedy that we no longer have the cat. There will be a cat again.
That would be fantastic. Can I just say as well, Benedict, I really do appreciate you coming out here today, because obviously, you know, there are a lot of people with lots of policies, lots of long manifestos, lots of very, like I say, serious, not so meme candidates. But I do really appreciate that you've come out today and joined us. It means a lot.
Well, thank you. One thing I would like to add is, you know, I've thought about the question that was asked earlier regarding like how we could give students more of a voice. I think definitely a way we can give students more of a voice is for them to vote for one of the three candidates who are here today, because these are definitely people who are very passionate campaigners, who know a lot about what to do if they'll get elected, who have good plans, and I would be very enthused to see them as the president.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad in that way we've kind of got you on stage as sort of a hype man for the other three. I love that. Well, thank you very much. I think that is it. Okay, well, thank you very much to Rishi, to Harry, Oliver, and Benedict for joining us today for Meet the Candidates. I'm Byron Lewis for Surge TV. Good night.